Hey, Groundhog's Garage, my name is Jim, and let's get back to work on the Grand Am. I've got the nose cone all kind of whittled out that it'll fit the backing plate now, whatever you want to call it, where the grill is. I've got the fenders patched from videos long ago, but I need to put in the brace on one of them, do a little Bondo, little putty work, and we can start putting some paint on these bad boys and I can get it out of my driveway. So let's get started. And if you're new to the channel, let me tell you where I'm at. 74 Grand Am. I've welded in a patch there. This is the back, and this is the back brace that I took out so that I could have access to the back. And it goes something like that. I'm going to prep the metal back here, clean it up a little bit, put a little pour 15 or something over it, and then do the same thing to the back of this brace and get it welded back on there. And really, I think this fender is, I think there's a dent right here on the other side, push this way. So we'll have to look at that once I get the fender flipped over. I took these out in the yard and sandblasted them with my Harbor Freight sandblaster. And I gotta tell you, you can't duplicate this with rust remover and sandpaper. You just can't get into those pores. And I know I have a little OCD, so knowing that this is clean and those pores are cleaned out, and I'll have paint over them and the rust won't be bubbling underneath it, I'll sleep better at night. And I got some self-etching primer here. I'm going to wipe this down and we'll get a little primer on that, let it sit overnight, and then put a little weld through primer where I need to, where the welds go, and we'll get that welded back on there. So here I am. I got the brace put into position. I painted both the back of the fender and the front of this brace before I put them together, so that I didn't have to worry about when I was painting it that I was going to have coverage over the whole thing, especially behind these buttons here. I've got it in place so it's where the plugs were originally. There's another one there, and those two there, and then underneath here. So I'm just going to tack weld those and put them in, and then flip it over, and then I can start doing the finished body work on this part here. And boy, I'm excited to see what that looks like. And this will be ready for paint for the most part. I'll have to put some primer on it and block sand it a little bit, but this one's moving along rather quickly. I've got the brace welded on. You can see I cleaned up my plug welds here a little bit. There's one there, there's one there, there's a couple there. There's one, if you can see that in the shadows. There we go. You can see where I welded in, butt welded the patch. Don't judge, it's not perfect, but far better than what was in there. Far better than what was in there. And this is prior body work from somebody else before me. And I've got this cleaned up and wiped down, and now I'm going to put some putty on there and we'll shape it. And to give you an idea of how much wave I have in here, I'm going to use this sanding block. I don't have a metal straight edge, but this ought to be close enough. So I've got a little bit of wave in there. And this is where the button is on the brace in the back. I'm pretty happy with the way that turned out. It looks like there's a natural curve in here anyway, so it's all good. We'll get some putty on there, a little primer, make it look like new. Put some of that on there, and it's probably too much. Let's get the middle one here. Scrape this off. me. Let's mix this up. It says to do this for 2 minutes, but I think we're good. Let's see, 2-minute timer. Ding! Where is the bell? Can't hear the bell. Ding, fries are done. Hey, if we can't humor ourselves, who can we humor? Oh, I got way too much putty. Way too much. I got the initial sanding done, and I was kind of working to this high spot here because I know it's high right here, or I shouldn't say it's high, it's where it needs to be because this is where the button and the back brace is. If you don't know what I'm talking about, this thing right here. So I know the sheet metal is against that right here. So I got a little valley here, a little valley here, and if I show this, so you can see, and it's hard not knowing what the original curve was, but we're just going to assume it was pretty flat. So I'm kind of trying to follow the edge of the fender because that's still original and this is original too. So I've got that, and it's actually pretty close. And then on this end, it's pretty close too. So I'm going to continue to fill this in here a little bit, but I'm going to get my air file. It's got to be around here somewhere before I go on. And I'm also going to prep this area a little bit. This is the this was a previous boo-boo, and I'm going to grind that out and put some putty in there, some Bondo, and redo that. Okay, here's a little dimple that was underneath all that putty on the fender well. I'm going to, there's a lip here on the back side, but what I'm going to try to do is work this in behind there and pry up on there and hammer this and see if I can't get it to flatten out a little bit. I mean, it's not bad to fill it with putty. I just want to see if I've never really played with these, so here we go. I'm going to give this a try. It's very visible from this side. This is the dimple right here. I'm going to try to hammer that down with the dolly from this side and then attack it again from the other side. Looks like there might be a little dimple right here too. So we'll see how that works out. Sometimes it pays to endeavor to persevere. Right here is where that dimple was, and it is it's like almost not even noticeable now from this side, and I punched this down a little bit too. So we're going to flip it over, and you know, sometimes it's just worth it to dig in. You'd be surprised what you can do. Let's talk about that for a minute. I have mentioned before, I am not a body guy. I could count on my hand the number of times I've done body work. But sometimes you just got to have a little faith in yourself, and just like something like that, I could have just bondoed that over and forgot about it, but because I had access to it and decided just to go ahead and try it, you know, you've all watched YouTube videos, you've all seen this stuff. Don't be afraid to try it. If I can do it, you can do it. Alright, so let's flip this over and see what it looks like. I'm going to show it to you before I get the rest of that putty out, but yeah, it's flat now, so I couldn't get it before with the angle grinder. So now I'll be able to clean that up. And give me a second, I'll bring it back after it's done. I'm feeling pretty good about that. It's not perfect. I'm going to put a little glazing over that, and we'll sand it in the morning and see what it looks like. I think it's going to turn out much better than it was, and I won't have to have nearly the body filler on the fender. Here's after the first layer of the body glazing. Got a little low spot here and a little bit here, but it's the overall minimal amount of putty as opposed to what was in here before. I mean, it went out. Let's go back here. It went out from here to here for that little dimple that somebody tried to blend into that fender. And if you didn't, depending on which video I put it in, from me punching it out in the back, I made that so much smaller. And so I'm going to put another little layer of glaze over this to get these lower spots here, because I'm hitting high spots here. And we'll get this going, set it aside to dry, and then let's see, this is the driver's side. I'll pull the passenger side fender and start working on it. Okay, I'm going to stop the video here. No need for you to watch me put more Bondo on and take it off, and put it on and take it off. So the next episode, we're going to have some primer on the fenders and put some color on it, and to the next step of putting it back together. So I hope you subscribe, click on that like button, click on and turn on your notifications, and I hope to see you soon. Have a great night.